Zhang Yi spoke to Xingtian, this matter requires some thought. Regardless, your demands are quite substantial in terms of provisions. We need some time. Xingtian replied, agreed, I will give you a day to consider. No more. Provide me with your answer before noon tomorrow. He took a deep breath and said, old friend, you should agree. Otherwise, I truly do not wish to encounter you on the battlefield. I understand. So we'll tentatively agree like this. The conversation between Zhang Yi and Xingtian ended. Zhang Yi leaned back into the soft salon chair, basking in the warm and gentle light from the lamp overhead enveloping his figure. Zhang Yi began to ponder. A ton of food wasn't much for him. He could either take it from the Shishan base's warehouse or provide him with canned goods. The issue of supplies was easy for Zhang Yi to resolve. But Zhang Yi worried about whether he could trust him. If not for concerns about external dangers, he could join Su Chunlei in searching for buried supermarkets under the snow to excavate and transport. But Zhang Yi didn't want to take risks. It had been a while since he last saw Xingtian, and people were always changing. Zhang Yi carefully considered his strategy. I might agree, but only with a partial upfront deposit. When the war ends, if the Qingpu base satisfies me, I'll pay the rest. This conversation with Xingtian was unexpected for Zhang Yi. However, it provided him with crucial information. Firstly, Zhang Yi's hideout might face an attack from the coalition forces of the four largest powers in Amami City. Secondly, this attack would be carried out quickly. Zhang Yi was confident in the defensive capabilities of his hideout. The four houses had no deep-seated conflict with him. If the benefits didn't outweigh the risks, they would choose to abandon the attack. Zhang Yi logically prepared for the worst-case scenario and then fought a brutal battle to shift the entire power dynamic in Amami City to achieve peace. Zhang Yi decided to cooperate with the Qingpu base. In the living room, a quick meeting was convened by Zhang Yi, summoning everyone. He briefed them on the situation, informing them of the impending attack by the coalition of the four major powers. The faces of everyone turned extremely serious. This pressure could be more daunting than fighting against the Shishan base before. However, Yang Xingqing calmly stated, I think the situation isn't as dire as it seems. Despite their alliance, these four powers still harbor distrust among themselves. Only Yangsheng and Jiaoyu bases have conflicts with us. Baishua sect and Qingpu base are just being pulled into it. Without fundamental conflicts, they will hesitate in their attack. They might not commit fully. If we persuade the Qingpu base not to engage, our pressure will decrease. Everyone nodded in agreement with Yang Xingqing's words. Uncle Vu also spoke up, our biggest weakness is our limited numbers. If the enemy outnumbers us, we'll be at a disadvantage. In the division of forces, before the battle, we can utilize defensive positions to withstand the initial assault. Zhang Yi looked out the window and continued, the surrounding hideout area is not heavily exposed. Behind us are two low mountains forming a natural barrier, plus the heavy snow. The enemy cannot easily launch attacks from the mountains. So, we primarily face the enemy from a wide angle of about 120 degrees. Zhang Yi pointed to a map, drawing lines and distributions. Our main firepower is also concentrated in this area. Our goal is not to defeat them, but to push them back, making them realize we are the strongest force in the region. Zhang Yi continued, after the battle, I will negotiate with them, turning the surrounding hideout area into a restricted zone, denying them access. At this point, Su Chunlei furrowed his brow, expressing his concern. But even when facing simultaneous attacks from three sides, the pressure remains significant. It seems like our first line of defense will quickly crumble, and we'll have to retreat to the hideout for defense. The current issue was that our two strongest points in defense were the hideout and the space door of Zhang Yi. But what if the enemy, with numerous people, attacked simultaneously and utilized various methods of attack? If they had a way to breach the hideout, what would we do? Su Chunlei raised his hand. Anyway, the Yangqing base holds a large reserve of oil resources. They could use many large devices and transport them here. The enemy might even possess mutants with abilities we're not aware of. Su Chunlei's words brought tension to everyone. Mutants were always the most unpredictable factor. However, after hearing this, Zhang Yi remained calm. These issues need not worry anyone. If they truly arise, we will handle them. Zhang Yi was an advocate for peace and disliked war, but that didn't mean he lacked strength. After the battle with the Shishan base, Zhang Yi absorbed the energy of four other mutants. The extent of Zhang Yi's power was currently unknown to anyone. While everyone was discussing fervently, Hua Hua, the cat lying next to Zhang Yi on the sofa, suddenly became alert and raised its head. Its multicolored eyes stared out the window, meowing a few times. This meow was filled with vigilance. Seeing the seriousness of Hua Hua, everyone felt tense and quickly turned to look outside. Hua, with the instincts of a mutated creature stronger than humans, often noticed things that humans didn't. Outside the window was pitch black, with only faint light on the snow-covered surface and the sound of the wind blowing through, seeming like something strange was slowly approaching. There was something coming closer from within the snow. Zhang Yi remained calm. A golden gun appeared in his right hand as he stepped out to sea. Zhang Yi quickly unlocked the safety and carried Hua toward the window. Others followed suit, quickly. Nobody dared to be negligent at this moment. They reached the window, and Zhang Yi took out a telescope, peering outside. Finally, Zhang Yi spotted a figure wearing a red cloak in the snowstorm. It seemed to be an elderly person struggling to advance toward them, step by step. Despite this, Zhang Yi remained cautious. No one should be underestimated, even an old man. Because in such a freezing winter night, not only the elderly but even the young dared not venture out casually. Zhang Yi speculated that this might be a mutant, but it was unclear which faction this person belonged to and what their intentions were. Zhang Yi wasn't sure because he didn't detect the presence of a second person nearby. In theory, this old man came alone, either confident in his abilities or believing that Zhang Yi and his group wouldn't act against him. Regardless, he must have some ace up his sleeve. At this moment, Zhang Yi heard Uncle Vu's surprised voice. I recognize him. He's Zhao Jianhua from Baishua sect, whom we've seen in the apartment complex. Zhou Kuo asked cautiously, what does Baishua sect want by sending someone this time? Everyone repeated this name. It was one of the 4 major powers in Amami City, and currently, Baishua sect was also the most mysterious and peculiar organization. Zhang Yi became serious, inevitably recalling his phone conversation with Xingtian. Today, neither the Qingpu base nor Baishua sect had direct conflicts with his faction. They were being drawn in by the Yangqing base and Jiaoyu base. But everyone knew that without benefits, nobody wanted to participate. Therefore, Xingtian discreetly contacted Zhang Yi to avoid war, as long as significant benefits could be obtained. While Zhang Yi was pondering, Yang Xingqian's clear and cold voice also rang out from beside him. As we know, Baishua sect is another major force in Amami City, always having strained relationships. If we want to break their alliance from within, then Baishua sect is the best breakthrough point. Zhang Yi lowered the telescope and said, however, I don't have any good feelings toward this sect either. Baishua sect was once a renowned religious sect in the era of unrestricted religion in that country, where many organizations deemed cults existed. They were greedy, blood-sucking, and caused harm to their followers, destroying their lives. Such an organization suddenly became a savior in the apocalypse era. Just a little thought tells you that's impossible. Even the 4 major bases don't like them. It's hard for me to feel any goodwill toward them. Yang Xingqian chuckled and said to Zhang Yi, however, if they have value to exploit, then we might consider it. Zhang Yi nodded, fully agreeing with Yang Xingqian's words. Cooperation wasn't based on personal preferences, but on the value the partner brought. Therefore, he patted Su Qinlei on the shoulder. Su Qinlei, go out and talk to him. Open the microphone, and I'll guide you on how to converse. Facing the strange elderly person daring to come here alone, Zhang Yi was unclear about his abilities, so he didn't want to risk it himself. Su Qinlei panicked and quickly apologized, Boss, I am the weakest, I am not the suitable choice to negotiate. Zhang Yi looked at Su Qinlei. In this snowy environment, your abilities can be best utilized. Rest assured, we won't let him harm you. Zhang Yi said, raising his green-colored gun. If he makes any strange moves, I will immediately subdue him. Seeing Zhang Yi's resolute gaze, Su Qinlei could do nothing but reluctantly don his combat gear and step out of hiding. All right. Zhang Yi activated his information device to listen to their conversation, conveniently instructing Su Qinlei on how to communicate with the opponent. Zhang Yi instructed Su Qinlei, when going out, not to let him approach the defensive line to avoid him discovering our arrangement. The thick walls of snow concealed a large number of weapons, though it was hard to see clearly due to the snowstorm. Zhang Yi didn't want to take any risks in any situation. Su Qinlei had no choice but to step closer to the outer defensive line to welcome the elderly person across. Slowly, step by step, meanwhile, Zhao Jianhua of the Baishua sect slowly approached from hiding, through the thick layer of snow, also catching sight of a figure stepping out from behind the snow fence within his view. It was obvious to see the abnormal aura emanating from Su Qinlei. Following Zhang Yisu's orders, Qinlei loudly instructed Zhao Jianhua to stop and not come closer. Zhao Jianhua smiled, bowing humbly. Greetings, sir. I can see a powerful aura emanating from you. You must be a formidable mutant. These words excited Su Qinlei because in this hidden place, he was often not regarded as powerful, and this was the first time he had been praised like this. However, the smile on his face quickly vanished when Zhang Yi requested him to inquire about the identity and purpose of the stranger. May I ask who you are and why you have come here? Su Qinlei inquired. Zhao Jianhua responded, I am Zhao Jianhua of the Baishua sect. I have come here under the orders of our leader to meet Zhang Yi, sir. He smiled. You must not be Zhang Yi, sir. After all, he continued, his gaze seeming to pierce through space to see Zhang Yi hidden inside. Your powerful aura makes me feel as if I'm looking at the blazing sun in my own eyes. Zhang Yi frowned. This person came to find me? Uncle Vu reminded, this old man seems to have the ability to perceive the talents of others. He has come to find me before, but I refused. However, he helped awaken another person's mutant abilities. Zhang Yi nodded. That is indeed a useful ability, especially when combined with the blessing ability of their leader, Yuan Kongya. It's truly a perfect combination. Zhang Yi instructed Su Chunlei to ask what he wanted. Su Chunlei looked at Zhao Jianhua and said, our leader doesn't just meet anyone who wants to meet him. Whatever you want to say it here. We can convey your words to our leader. Zhao Jianhua was slightly surprised. He didn't expect Zhang Yi to be so determined, not giving him the opportunity to meet face to face. In fact, he was not a combat-oriented mutant. Even when standing in front of Zhang Yi, he did not pose a threat. However, he greatly appreciated Zhang Yi's approach. In the apocalypse era, mutants were often aggressive, and vigilance was always a survival rule. This time, Zhao Jianhua said, I have come here under the orders of our leader, carrying important news for Mr. Zhang Yi. 3 days from now, the bases Yangxing, Zhaoyu, and Qingpu will jointly launch an attack on his hiding place. Zhang Yi heard this information without much surprise. He had already known about the attack time, so the communication from Xingtian and the people of the Baishue sect didn't shock him. Today, it became clear that they didn't have much time left for negotiation. Suddenly, Zhao Jianhua stood up straight and said seriously, these despicable bandits have delusions of killing and scheming to destroy our beautiful home. They even want to deceive our leader into initiating an attack against him together. Our Baishue sect has always been loyal, serving the divine with love and spreading peace and kindness to the world, so we strongly oppose their proposal. Therefore, Zhao Jianhua looked deeply towards their hiding place. We hope we can cooperate with Mr. Zhang Yi.